Guys, please confirm to me. All of you get my voice on screen. Those are attending in online. Is my voice is clear to all of you? Am I audible? Am I audible, guys? Right. Right. Good morning, guys. And check it what we completed in the last session. So I think so. We are discussing about step number 4: write and execute SQL queries in a JDBC. That step here we are understanding. In JDBC applications, to write and execute SQL queries, we will use the following methods from java.sql.statement. In a statement, what are the various methods are existed here? Execute query method, execute update method, and the next one is execute method. Overall, these are the various methods are existed here: execute update method, execute query, and execute method. Right, here we have one important interview question. What is the difference between execute query, execute update, and execute method? Right, for these answers are very clear. Now try to understand it. Execute query method. It can be used to execute select SQL queries in order to fetch or read or retrieve data from databases. Example is result set rs is equal to st.execute query select star from emp1. The diagram already we shown that clearly. Right. In a diagram here, when we execute result set rs is equal to st.execute query of select star from emp1. When we execute that, then what next one here now? JVM will take the select SQL query. JVM will send that select SQL query to JDBC ODBC driver, or maybe in the case of it is not a type 1 driver, JDBC driver. After that, JDBC ODBC driver will send that SQL query to connection, where connection will carry that SQL query to database engine. Database engine will execute that database engine. ODBC driver first will take that SQL query. ODBC driver will send that SQL query to the database engine. Database engine will execute that SQL query by following query tokenization, query parsing, query optimization, and query execution phases there. As part of execution phase, it will fetch the data from database table as per this select SQL query. Then that fetched data will be given back to the ODBC driver. Now ODBC driver will give that fetched data to the connection, where connection will carry that fetched data to the JDBC ODBC driver. Now JDBC ODBC driver will send back that fetched data to the Java application. Understand it clearly. So finally what happened there? That fetched data is stored in the form of an object at the Java application. That object is called as what there? Result set object. How to get the data from result set object and how to display the data to the user, that we will discuss later on. But as of now, just we have to understand execute query method is generating a result set object in Java application. Then whatever the result set object is generated here, that result set object reference is written by execute query method. That reference value is available with the rs reference variable. This is the simple point here what I'm telling to you. Next one is after that, after completion of this, when JVM executes that next section into row count is equal to st.execute update of update emp1 set ecell is equal to ecell plus 500, where ecell less than 10,000. Right, sir. When this SQL query is executed here, then what's going to be happen there? Understand it clearly. JVM will take this update SQL query. JVM will take this update SQL query, and JVM will send that update SQL query to JDBC ODBC driver. Here JDBC ODBC driver will send that SQL query to the connection. Connection will carry that SQL query to the ODBC driver. ODBC driver will send that SQL query to the database engine. Now database engine will perform query tokenization, query parsing, query optimization, and query execution, and it able to perform some updations on the database table as per this update SQL query. Let's say 10 records are got updated. The number of records which are got updated because of this SQL query is called as row count value. How many number of records are affected with our SQL query? That number is called as what their row count value. When a row count value was generated at database side now, database engine will get that row count value. That row count value will be given back to the ODBC driver. ODBC driver will send that row count value back to the connection. Now connection will send will carry that row count value to the JDBC ODBC driver. Now JDBC ODBC driver will send back that row count value to what their Java application. Finally, row count value is available at our Java application as an integer value. Whatever the integer value is available at Java application, that integer value is written by execute update method. There we catch that written value from execute update method in the form of into row count. Whenever we are getting that row count value, that we are able to display to the user, either by using GUI patch or by using directly normal. On console, we can display that value system.out.println method. Right, sir. This is completed. Both the methods are okay, fine. Now, then what is that next point here I'm telling to you? Observe carefully. The next point is like what I'm telling to you. Execute method. Guys, first of all, tell me what is the purpose of this execute method? Execute query method can be used to execute select SQL queries in order to fetch the data. Execute update method can be used to execute non-select SQL queries in order to perform the operations like what there, creating table, alter table, drop table, inserting data, updating data, deleting records from database table, all we are able to perform. Right, all the SQL queries are executed with execute query and execute update method. It's gone. But what is the purpose of execute method? Execute method purpose is what there? Come on, what is the purpose of execute method? You know, the main purpose of this execute method is what there? Just to execute both the types of SQL queries, one at a time, of course. Both the types of SQL queries we want to execute, but one at a time. Right, sir. It can be used to execute both the types of SQL queries. If we execute select SQL query through execute method, then execute method will return what value? True value. If we execute non-select SQL query through execute method, then execute method will return what value? False value. Understand it clearly what I am telling to you now? Right, sir. Boolean B1 is equal to st.execute of select a star from emp1. Sys.out.println of B1 true value we are getting. Boolean B2 is equal to st.execute update emp1 set esal is equal to, right, sir, 1 minute, it will come there, don't worry. Right. Now here, what next one here? If I execute non-select SQL query execute method, then execute method will return what value here? No, false value. Right, sir. Right, sir. The point is what there? Execute method was designed in that way only. Understand? Execute method was designed in that way only. Why? Because execute method is able to execute both the types of SQL queries. But what is the identification for us? Which SQL query is executed by this execute method? Now, just simply might be say, for example, I'm telling to you in which situations we are going to use this execute method. Observe carefully. At the time of writing the JDBC program, I don't know which SQL query I'm going to execute. It may be select SQL query or it may be non-select SQL query. But I don't know which type of SQL query I'm going to execute in my JDBC program. User may provide SQL query dynamically at runtime. Say for example, when I execute my program there, Java space test.java test, when I execute this program, then user may ask to me, say for example, d:/ADV Java 7, for example. In this location, I provided like further Java space test. Then immediately my program is asking there, enter SQL query. Then now tell me, now here user has to enter SQL query. But do you have any guarantee that user is entering only select SQL query? Do you have any guarantee that user is entering only non-select SQL query? But we don't know. Then user may enter either of these SQL query. If when user is entering either of these SQL query, but we should be in a position to execute that SQL query. But I don't know which SQL query that user is going to enter. Even though that user has entered select or non-select, that doesn't matter. My program has to execute that SQL query. It has to show some results. Then in that situation, which method here I have to use there? Can I go for execute query method? If I use execute query method, it will work out for only select SQL queries. But what about this non-select SQL queries? In the case if user is entering non-select SQL query, there is a chance of executing non-select SQL query with execute query method. Can I use that execute update method? If I use execute update method, it will work out with for only non-select SQL queries. In the case if user is entering select SQL query, then where we are able to execute it now? How it is possible to execute select SQL query with execute update method? Their problems will come. So in that scenario, when the SQL query is provided by user, maybe selector, maybe non-select, whatever it may be, independent of the SQL query, we have to execute that SQL query. To execute the dynamic SQL queries independently, without thinking whether it is a select or non-select, if you want to execute any type of SQL query, JDBC has provided a method separately. That method is what they know. That method is what their execute method. Okay. User has given one SQL query. Execute method I have used to execute that SQL query. But what is an identification for me? Now this execute method is executing only select SQL query, or this execute method is executing only non-select SQL query. What is the identification for me? That identification for the developer is what there. On the base of the return value of the execute method, we can identify this. If execute method returns a true value, execute method returns true value, then it is an indication for us we have executed select SQL query. Because of executing select SQL query, I may get result set object internally. I have to get result set object reference. I have to get data from the result set object. In the case if execute method is returning some false value, when it is returning false value, then what is an identification for us now? Okay, now the execute method is executing non-select SQL query. When it is executing non-select SQL query, automatically some row count value is generated at our Java application. So we have to get that row count value explicitly. We have to display that row count value to the user. So on the basis of the return value only, we are going to decide which SQL query that execute method is executing. If it is true, select SQL query. If it is false, non-select SQL query. If it is true, then get result set object and display the data. If it is not true, if it is a false, no, get the row count value as an integer value and display that row count value to the user. There we are able to get the clear-cut indication on the basis of the return type only which SQL query that execute method is executing. So the JDBC has prepared that execute method in this fashion only, with this functionality only. So we should not violate that. We have to follow that as it is. Implementation what execute method is having. Right, sir. So if no data is available, then what is the result while non-select SQL query? Whatever it may be. The data is available or not available, it is a secondary. But we are executing execute method, we are executing that select SQL query, it will return what there no true value. If we execute non-select SQL query, then it will return what value can no false value can. That's it. You see, whether data is available or not, it is a secondary. But what SQL query here we executed there, on the basis of that only, we are able to check it clearly. Right, sir. Okay, now I'm asking one more question there. Forget about this execute method. In the case of execute query method, if data is not available, then what we are able to say? Understand? For example, I'm telling there. In the case of non-select SQL query also, data is not available. In the case of execute update method, what we are able to say? So whether data is available or not is a secondary. Really database operation is performed or not secondary. But we are executing this SQL query, select SQL query in the sense execute method will return what their true value. Non-select SQL query in the sense execute method will return what value can know, false value can know. Observe careful. All the points we are going to see in the programming part here. Alright, sir. That's okay, fine. Got clarity what I discussed there, guys? Yes? No response. So people are asking questions only, but immediately they are not giving any response now. Alright, sir. Anyway, now let's move on to the content here. Let's move on to the content. All of you observe carefully. Now here the point is like what I'm telling to you is not required in the document. Hmm. All right, sir. Now Boolean, that means execute method implementation here we are discussing there. Now get execute method. If execute non-select SQL query through execute method, then execute method will return false value. That's the point I'm telling there. All right, sir. Now here that internal flow here we have to understand. What is that internal flow here now? In this diagram, I'm telling to you, observe carefully. Result set, sorry, not result set. Boolean B1 is equal to st dot execute of select star from emp1. This is an intersection here I've written. Then after that, system dot out dot println of b1. Here just I'm telling to you directly the answer is what there true value. Observe carefully here what's going to be happen there when JVM executes this execute method. JVM will take the select SQL query. Then follow these red lines here in the diagram there. JVM will send that select SQL query to the JDBC ODBC driver. JDBC ODBC driver will send that select SQL query to the connection. Connection will carry that select SQL query to ODBC driver. ODBC driver will send that select SQL query to the database engine. Database engine will follow query tokenization, query parsing, query optimization, query execution at the database there. As part of the query execution, it able to fetch the data from the database table. Okay, when data is available, say for example 5 to 10 records are available, all the records will be given back to the ODBC driver, and ODBC driver will give that information to the connection. Now connection will carry that results to what they know JDBC ODBC driver. When results are coming to the JDBC ODBC driver, then it able to send the data into the Java application in the form of what object there no result set object. The result set object is created in JDBC program. There we are able to get the data, but result set object is created only, that's it. Only what object is created, result set object is created only. In the case of execute query method, whatever the result set object is created, that result set object reference value will be written. The result set object reference value will be written from execute query method. But in the case of execute method, result set object is created internally, but execute method is not returning result set object reference. Execute method is returning what value? No, true value as a boolean value. Then we are displaying the true value here. No. When we execute select SQL query with execute method, internally result set object is created. Internally, what object is created here? No, result set object is created. But that result set object reference is not written by execute method. Execute query method will return the generated result set object reference, but execute method is not returning generated result set object reference. Instead of it, execute method is returning true value. Catch the return value of execute method. If is true, understand it, select SQL query is executed, internally result set object is created. If really data is available in the database table, the data will be stored in the result set object. If data is not available in the database table, empty result set object will be created. I get my point or not? But result set object is created, damn sure. But which has the data or not, that we have to check. On the basis of that, we have to read the data from result set object. If really data is available in the table, result set object will be created with the data. If really data is not available in the result set object, no, empty result set object will be created where no records are going to be existed here. But before going to read the data from result set object, definitely we have to check whether data is available or not. If data is available, then only read the data from result set now. If data is not available, then not required to read data from result set object. This is one point here we have to understand. Next one is after completion of this, that another thing is like what they by using the same execute method, I want to execute another one. Then what is this actually? Boolean B2 is equal to st dot execute of here. I want to write like what there update SQL query. Update emp1. Update what there emp1. Then set ecell is equal to set ecell is equal to ecell plus 500 where ecell less than 10,000. This is our SQL query. Then what happened here now? When JVM execute this particular instruction, First JVM will take what there, the provided SQL query, that is non-select SQL query. Then after that, one more thing here I have to specify there. 1 minute here. Cessna dotted println of B2. Here, what's the value here? We are able to get the no false only. Right, sir. When JVM takes this SQL query, JVM will send that SQL query to the JDBC ODBC driver. JDBC ODBC driver will send a non-select SQL query to the ODBC driver. ODBC driver, that means to the connection only. ODBC driver will send non-select SQL query to the database engine. Now the database engine is able to execute that SQL query by following query tokenization, query parsing, query optimization, and query execution. Then it able to perform some updations on the database table. Say for example, 10 records are got updated now. When 10 records are got updated, get that number 10 is called as what there no row count value. That row count value is given to the ODBC driver. ODBC driver will send the row count value to the connection. Connection will carry the row count value to the JDBC ODBC driver. Now JDBC ODBC driver will send the row count value to what there no Java application. At Java application here we are getting like what there no row count value directly. The row count value here we are able to display directly. Right, sir. Now this is a case. For example, if no record is available in the updation now, for updating purpose, no record is available. Empty table is available. Over that empty table, we are trying to perform these updations. No record is affected now. When no record is affected in the database now, in the Java program, the default row count value will be generated. That depends on the driver. It may be 0 or it may be -1. The default row count value will be generated. Understand it clearly. So whatever it may be, whether some integer value will be generated, maybe 0 in the case of no records are available there, or maybe really if records are affected there, no, that number, that integer value will come to the JDBC application. But execute method is not returning that integer value. Whatever the integer value which is created now, execute method is not returning that integer value. Execute method is returning what value here now? Execute method is returning false as a boolean value. Execute method is returning what they know? False as a boolean value. That's the point here we have to understand clearly. Right, so now let's observe carefully then what exactly the points here I'm telling to you, I'm discussing with you. Here the points are like what there. Here the points are like what there. If we execute select SQL query through execute method, then JVM will send that select SQL query to database engine, where database engine will execute select SQL query, and database engine will send the fetched data back to the Java application. Fetched data back to the Java application. At Java application, understand it clearly. At Java application, that fetched data will be stored in the form of result set object. But even the result set object is created, but execute method will return true value. Execute method will return what value? You know, true value. This is a point here I'm telling there. Right, sir? Understand this clearly. What I'm telling there, in a single line, the total information I've given there. If we execute select SQL query through execute method, then JVM will send that select SQL query to the database engine, where database engine will execute select SQL query, and database engine will send the fetched data back to the Java application. At Java application, that fetched data will be stored in the form of result set object, but execute method will return true value. Execute method will not return result set object. No, execute method will return what there no true value. Observe carefully. No. Next, similarly, another point is like what I'm telling there. If we execute non-select SQL query, if we execute non-select SQL query through execute method, then JVM will send that non-select SQL query to database engine, where database engine will send, where database engine will execute the provided non-select SQL query, will provide non-select SQL query, and it will generate, the row count value. Row count value. What is the meaning of row count value? No, right, sir. Number of records, which are updated. Number of records, which are updated. Now this is like what the row count value, and database engine will send that row count value to Java application. That's it. Understand it? No? Where database engine will execute the provided non-select SQL query and it will generate the row count value. It will generate the row count value, and database engine will send that row count value to the value back to the Java application. At Java application, execute method, will not return execute method will not return row count value. It will return what value here? No, false value. It will return what value here? No, false value. That's it, guys. Now this is what exactly the meaning of like what there, no, execute method. So both the functionalities are explained here. Execute method with select SQL query, execute method with the non-select SQL query. Yes, all of you are following these points, no? Right, sir. That's okay, fine. Now, this is the total story of like what there write and execute SQL queries. Guys, I'm asking one question to all of you. Try to answer for it. Everybody, understand my point here? Uh, in how many ways we are able to write and execute SQL queries now? That means what are the various methods we are able to use to write and execute SQL queries? Execute query method, execute update method, then what next one? Execute method. Then I required only one statement answers only, not required to go for this total analysis. That is for the sake of you only. Execute query method can be used to execute which SQL queries? No, select SQL queries. To perform which operations? There? No, fetch the data. Execute update method can be used to execute which SQL queries? No, non-select SQL queries. To perform which operations? There? No, creating table, inserting data, updating data, deleting data, alter the table, drop the table. To perform all these non-select operations. No. Execute method can be used to execute which type of SQL queries? No, which type of SQL queries? No, both the types of SQL queries. What are the both the types of SQL queries? No, select and non-select SQL queries. Right, sir. If we execute select SQL query with execute method, what value we are able to get? True value we are able to get. But internally, which object is created? Result set object is created. If we execute non-select SQL query with execute method, which return value we are able to get? False value here we are able to get. But internally, which value is generated at Java program? Row count value. That is an integer value is generated here. Understand my point here? Maybe interviewer may ask a question to you. What is the difference between execute query method and execute method? Execute query method and execute method. The point is very clear. Execute query method can execute only select SQL query, but execute method can execute all the types of SQL queries. Execute query method will return result set object as a return value, but execute method will return true as a return value if we execute true. If we execute select SQL query, it will return false value if we execute what there? No, non-select SQL query. This is outlined information here we have to understand about this total write and execute SQL queries. All right, guys. Now, now let's observe this clearly. Then what is the last point here? Close the resources now. Close the resources. Guys, observe carefully. One simple example I'm telling to you. For example, you have some water tap in our house. Example I'm telling there. In your dining hall, then you completed your lunch, then you have to wash your hands, right? You wash it there, then at the time of washing, just you on the tap, water is coming, then with that you wash it. Clear, completed. Then after that, what is your next step? You have to close the tap or not? Why? Why? There's a wastage of the water. Am I right or not? Wastage of the water. Okay, that is inside your home. For example, outside of your home, there is a water pipeline, there is a motor for you, your own motor. For example, if you open it, you have taken some part of the water, you got it, your requirement is completed. Then what next? Still water is coming to the pipe. Then what next one? What next one here? There we have to close that. At least we have to close the tap or not? Maybe, of course, it's a public pipeline, right? It's a public municipality provided some water tap. Then will you close it or not? If you're not closing that, then what will happen there? Anything may be happen. Anybody else can use your water, right? Anybody else can take your water. So there is no security for your water. Am I right or not? Anybody else can take your water here. Similarly, example I'm telling there. Similarly, in JDBC applications, before performing database operations, you establish the connection. After performing your database operations, what we have to do? What we have to do after performing all the database operations, your requirement is completed. Your total requirement is completed. Then what we have to do? We have to close the connection. If you're not closing the connection, then what will happen there? No, somebody else may enter into your connection. Somebody else may theft your data. I get my point or not? So the point is what there in a JDBC applications. I'm telling you guys, observe carefully. In JDBC applications, after performing all our database operations, after performing all of our database operations, it is convention. It's a convention to close the resources like statement, comma, connection, and so on. Guys, understand my point here? Maybe, in other words, I can say to avoid security problems, to avoid security issues, there we have to close the resources here now. So maybe multiple problems are available. If the resource is not closed, is a waste of the memory or not? Even our work is completed. We completed our total work, but still our object is available in the memory in the sense it's a waste of the memory or not. Then the point of memory wastage maybe. That is another one. And second one is what there, if you are not closing the connection, in your database you may have some sensitive data. Say some username and password related data is available, then somebody else may hack it, somebody else may go to your connection, somebody else may get your data also. Some security problems will come. Of course, it's not much easy to get the data without your presence now. But their database is providing a little bit security, but our people are more intelligent than our software products, no, right? Nowadays, everything is possible in IDV. Anything is possible. Even Form 16 is also be generated here. Do you know about it? What is that Form 16 here? No? Even the certificates are also be generated at database here. No? So what is that stupid database there? Then what is going to be happen with that? So then if people wants to do that, see, then I can see one point here. Maybe the moment when Windows 10 was released, very first version, very first product of Windows 10 was released there. Windows 10 or Windows 8, exactly I didn't remember that Microsoft has given a challenge to outside market. What is the challenge there? If any person is showing, if any person is hacked this particular product, if any person is doing some unauthenticated work with this, it's a challenge for anybody else in outside market. They are given that within 1 hour, one Indian has hacked that. Within 1 hour, they corrupted the total operating system. They shown that to the Microsoft now. Again, they reworked for it, re-engineered that again they are shown that. So there is a capability of Indians in outside, not only in outside, might be in India also now. Yes, sir. Got my point now, right, sir? Anyway, now let's move on to our point here. So the point is what there security issues will come there if you are not closing that resources now. Moreover, resources is a full of memory, maybe memory wastage is going to be happen. At the same time, like what the security problems will come because of that reason. Then what I am telling there, it is convention to close the resources like what there statement, connection, and so on, in order to avoid security issues, and in order to optimize memory utilization. in order to optimize memory utilization or in order to save our memory. Because of these reasons here, we are getting like what there, close the resources now. That's okay, fine. To close the resources, we have to use the following method. What method here we have to use there? This method is available in a statement, in a result set, in a connection, and all these methods is available. What is this method actually? Public void close. Public void close throws SQL exception. Public void close throws SQL exception. Then here what I have to do there? RS dot close. Guys, can you tell me what is this RS actually? What is this RS actually? Result set. Okay, fine. For the sake of you, I'm going to give there result set dot close. Then what next one here after that? Statement dot close. Then what next one here? Connection dot close. Right. Connection dot close. One simple point I'm telling to you. Now try to understand it clearly. All of you observe carefully. One very simple point here. JDBC steps if we observe now. All of you guys, listen carefully. JDBC steps if we observe now. First, what we are getting there now? Connection. Con is equal to driver manager dot get connection method. Here we have used it. That's okay. Some parameters here we have written, that doesn't matter. Next one is now tell me statement st is equal to con dot create a statement or not. Observe carefully. The statement object is generated by calling con dot create statement method. That means, do you have any relation between connection and statement? No. Do you have any relation between connection and statement? No. Observe carefully. Next one is, for example, result set rs is equal to st dot execute query of here some SQL query here we have written. What is it? It is not required here. Now tell me, we call this execute query method with st or not? St is what they know, statement. Now tell me, do you have any relation between statement and result set? No. Yes, here the relationship is what there. Is it easier relation or has a relation? Think and give answer here. Is a relationship or has a relationship now? We are calling create statement method on con now. So that we are getting statement. Means that create statement method is returning statement. It means that connection has a statement or not? The statement we are generating from connection or not? Similarly, the result set we generated from what there? Statement or not? Then which relationship here we are having there? No. Has a relationship, not is a relationship. Is a relationship is nothing but parent child. Means that superclass, subclass, inheritance now. But has a relationship is what there? Associations. Associations. It may be one to one to many to one, many to many. That doesn't matter here. But finally, has a relationship is available. All of you understand this clearly. Connection and statement, if you observe this, where one is a container and other one is a contained. One is a base, another one is associated. Now tell me here, which one is container and which one is contained? No. Come on, which one is a container and which one is contained here? Connection has a statement. So connection is acting as a container or not? Now statement is acting as what there? No, contained. That's fine now. When compared with the statement and result set, no. Statement has a result set, that I can say. Now, who is container here? No. Statement is container, but result set is what there? No. Contained here. Means that connection has a result statement. Statement has what there? Result set. Understand my point here? Dependencies level. Connection has a statement. Statement has what their result set. For example, if I close rs dot close method, result set now, only result set object will be closed. Any chances to close statement and connection here? Understand my point clearly? What I'm telling there. First of all, which one is available? Connection is a container. Connection is a super container. Inside this, what is available? Statement is available. Inside the statement, what is available? Result set is available. If I close the result set now, only result set will be closed. The child will be closed. Associated will be closed. No effect is available for the base. No effect is available for statement, and no effect is available for what there no connection here. No. Okay, fine. Next one is, for example, after closing result set, st dot close. If you do this, and then what is going to be closed here? No. Already result set is closed. Now what is closed here? No, statement is closed. But any effect is available for connection here? No, no effect is available for connection here. Understand my point here? Okay. Next one is, for example, if I close this con dot close, now connection is also be closed. I get my point or not? Individual, if you want to close them, this is the order here we have to follow. First we have to close result set. Next we have to close what their statement. Next we have to close what their no connection. Am I clear or not? But observe carefully. Observe carefully. For example, instead of doing all these things now, understand clearly. St dot close method. If I write like this, st dot only statement here I'm trying to close that statement. If I close now, which objects are going to be closed? Which objects are going to be closed? Only statement. Option number 1, only statement. Option number 2, result set and statement. Option number 3, all three. Option number 2 is right. What is it? No, result set object, and as well as see what they know. See, if we close container, is there any chance of existing that child? No, strong binding is available here. Strong binding in the sense, if I close statement, no, automatically result set is also be closed here. Without statement, no meaning of result set. Result set is not going to be existed here. No. Okay, fine. This is a way to understand the content here. In JDBs, in this way only it was implemented. So without statement, no result set object. Without connection, no statement object. I get my point or not? In JDBC, every database operation we are going to perform with the presence of connection only. Once the connection is closed, no chance of performing all the operations. Okay, fine. For example, now tell me guys, all of you now tell me, if I use con dot close method, what objects are going to be closed there? Connection is closing. That means super container is closing in the sense, what are closed here? Its associated objects are also be closed here now. That means when we close connection, automatically statement will be closed. When we close the statement, automatically result set is also be closed. Now tell me here, close the resources in the sense, closing the resources in the sense, in JDBC applications now, what we have to do there? Either individually close all of them, either close all of them individually, or simply close which object? No, connection. If we close connection, automatically all the associated objects are going to be closed. Yes guys, all of you get my point or not? So the point here, what I am telling there, in JDBC applications, to close the resources, if we want to close the resources, then here what I am telling there, if you want to close the resources, then close the resources in an order like then what is that order here we have to provide there? No, then we have to use, first of all we have to use rs dot close result set here. Next one is what there? st dot close. Next one is what there? No, con dot close. This is one approach. Or another approach here, what I am telling there? No, or simply in an order like what I am telling there? No, result set, comma, statement, then what next one again? No, connection. Or simply close what that one? No, close connection. If we close a connection, automatically all the associated resources like statement, comma, result set will be closed. Understand my point? If we close connection, automatically all the associated resources like statement, result set will be closed. Automatically they are going to be closed here. That's why here we are giving an example here. Understand this example? No, either we have to close all of them one by one, or we have to perform what they know. Simply we have to go for like what there? Con dot close method. This con dot close method is almost all equal to these three instructions now. Con dot close method is almost all equal to what they know? These three instructions get now. That's it guys. Now this is a point I'm telling there. Either you can close all of them in a sequence, or we can go for like what they know, con dot close. Is it a proper order now? Tell me here. For example, con dot close method if I provide now, con dot close method if I provide, then is it required to write like this? No. Then is it required to write like this? No. Unfortunately, we are able to get exceptions also. Exceptions also here we are able to get. Once already connection is closed there, automatically statement and automatically result set is going to be closed here. Then what is the where is the chance of closing again these closed resources now? That's why we may get some problems here. Maybe depends on driver, of course. Depends on driver, of course. Maybe some problems here we are able to get clearly. So this is not the proper way of closing the resources. The proper way of closing the resources is what they know. First contained object, next container. Or else directly we can close what they know, the super container, that is what their connection here. By that we are able to get our content clearly. Right, guys? So that's is then overall in a JDBC what we completed totally here. If you observe this now, finally here what we performed here, last step here no, that's like what there con dot close method. Finish. Everything is going to be closed. That finish. Total JDBC architecture maybe, the JDBC applications maybe, that means JDBC steps maybe totally here we completed. Finally, I need some answers from you guys. Now try to understand clearly. All right, sir. Yeah, definitely. Then initially that resources are going to be closed in the sense eligible for garbage collection only. Resources are closed in the sense what is the meaning of it now? Eligible for garbage collection. How they are eligible for garbage collection? That is internal view of that closed methods. That understand it now. But finally they are eligible for what their garbage collection. But one more point I'm telling to you, listen carefully. Connection is an interface provided by Sun Microsystems. Implementation classes are provided by database vendors. So close method must be implemented by whom? Close method is a part of the connection, right? Is implemented by whom? Database vendors. How they are closing the resources, that is up to their risk, up to as per their implementation. We could not say particular standardization for it. How resources they want to close, that is up to that. Oracle may follow one approach of closing the resources. MySQL is following one approach of closing the resources, and some other database is following, vendor is following some approach to close the resources. That is internals of their content. There is no standardization for it. If it is provided by Sun Microsystems, no, then we can talk about it. But these close operations, all close methods, connection.close, statement.close, resource.close, that's totally depending on what they know, database vendor provided internal view. There is no standardization for it. Even that Sun Microsystem is also not giving any specific process of closing the resources. But Sun Microsystems required what there? It's a convention to close the resources at the end of the JDBC program. Even Sun Microsystem is saying it is not, it is a mandatory to close the resources. No, Sun Microsystem is saying like what there, it is a convention. If we close it, then some security problems here we are able to avoid. Even without closing resources also we can run JDBC program. Without closing connection also we can run JDBC program. We can terminate our program there. But in general, when JDBC is terminating, when JVM is terminating all the resources by default, no, in the same way it able to delete the resources here. If we are not closing the resources now. But if we close the resources now, automatically part of the program, that resources are going to be cleaned from our memory there now. But if you are not clean that, if you are not closing the resources, no, automatically JVM will close all the resources. JVM will destroy all the resources by default as per its implementation. In which way it is destroying all the normal Java objects just before terminating Java program. In the same way, the JDBC resources are going to be destroyed by the JVM automatically. That's enough, guys. That's more than sufficient about this close operation. Not required to think much about it. So finally, here what we completed here, no, JDBC steps here we completed. JDBC architecture totally here we completed. Right? All of you are getting clarity on this, no? Right, sir. That's fine. Now here the next point here, what I'm telling to you, applications. JDBC application here we have to prepare. See, almost the last 10 days or maybe 15 days of time we spend for the sake of this moment only, preparing application only. Whatever the theory, whatever the concepts we understood up to now is for the sake of preparing first application only. Right, sir. That very application one I want to prepare here. Inside this application one, what I want to implement actually, what specifications here I want to provide, try to observe this clearly. I want to prepare like what there, driver, which driver here I want to use it for the very first application. At least one program I want to show for a type 1 driver. One program I need to show with what the type 1 driver, as we discussed about it. Of course, this program may execute, may not execute in our systems. If it is executed, it's okay, well and good. If it is not executed, don't mind for it. Just leave that there itself. I will give the type 4 driver implementation immediately. Through that, we can practice your examples. But in my system, I hope so. It may be executed, but I didn't check it so far. Understand my point, Kiran? In my system, it will be executed. In our system, also, 90% will be executed at any cost. If it is not executable, then don't mind for it. Just leave there itself. Nobody is using type 1 driver in their applications now. But as per my responsibility, at least one program I have to show. That's why I'm going to prepare this. So type 1 driver. If you want to use type 1 driver, then what is this driver class name, guys? Now tell me. In the case of this driver class, what is the driver class here? No, sun dot jdbc dot odbc dot jdbc odbc driver. What is the driver URL, guys? Now tell me. Driver URL should be jdbc colon odbc colon. What is this name here? No, DSN name. Am I right or not? Have you remembered it? I created one DSN name. No, in the JDBC steps, in the very first step, I given that. Have you identified that? Have you checked that JDBs, that means DSNM creation in our systems? If it is possible to create DSNM, that's sufficient. You will run this program. Some operating systems may not allow this DSNM creation there. If it is not possible to create DSNM, then no chances to execute your program. So to use the type 1 driver, what is mandatory? DSNM is mandatory. Observe carefully. Then what next one here? Then configurations. Any configurations we required here? No? Configurations. Yes. ODBC configuration is required for this program. What configuration is required, sir? ODBC configuration is required for our program. Which Java version here we are using there? No? Alright, sir. Now here we have to use what there? Java 1.7 version only we have to use. If we use Java 1.8 version, it will not work. Why? Because type 1 driver class was provided by Sun Microsystems up to which version of the Java? Java 1.7 version. Right, sir. Then very first program, what tool here we want to use there? Simple Edit Plus. First program, very first program. Second program onwards, we'll jump into what there no? This IDE there, Eclipse IDE. At least see this. At least one time, right? We are going to see this particular punch here. Right, sir. Then what is the objective of this particular program here? Only for first program I'm writing all these things. Next onwards directly I'll prepare the applications now. But you have to understand all these details here. Objective is what there? To create a table in a database from Java application. What's the purpose of this particular application here? No, just I want to create a table on a database. But from what application there? No, Java application. From Java application, I want to prepare a table in a database from Java application. That's my requirement here. So for just we install the database only. I think we are not having any table in our database there. So let me open the database now. The database may be open in multiple ways, but my comfortable way is what there. Just I want to open command prompt where what I have to type there no SQL plus. If I type this, now it is asking there version is 21.3. Of course, now the database username is what there system, then password slash I need to provide what there Durga. In the installation of this database, I given the same system on Durga. Click on enter button here. Last success, something else connected to this one. Finally, Oracle database 21C Express Edition release. This is connected here. That's okay, fine. Let me check it first of all. I want to create EMP1 table anyway. Right, sir. Now here, if you want to check whether this EMP1 table is available or not, description EMP1. Yes, table is available or not? Table is available or not? Okay, already table is available EMP1. Is there any chance to create a second table with the same name? No, not possible here. So what I have to do there, if you want to create same table, I have to drop this one or not? So here what I'm telling there, drop table EMP1. Drop table EMP1. The table is dropped. Then must perform what there no commit operation. Right, so now check it now. Description EMP1. Do you have an EMP1 table here? No, no table is existed here. Clear or not? Okay, fine. Now my database is ready to use. I want to create a table. The table is not available. Definitely, I'm going to create a table here now. All of you observe carefully, guys. What I'm telling there. My database is ready. Next, let me prepare the application just by taking what there edit plus. Again and again, I'm telling there just to show how to prepare JDBC programs through edit plus. Because of that reason only here, I'm taking this particular program here. Understand it clearly. Otherwise, I don't have any intention to use edit plus. Even my sincere thinking is what there in my mind now. Using editors in a companies is a suicide case almost all. Nobody will go for it. So, but at least in the learning process, I need to show that one. That's why I'm using this particular one. Right. So now let me go for it. File new Java. Now let me save this where we want to save this here. D drive ADV Java 7 AM. ADV Java 7 AM. New folder I want to create. Their prerequisite part already completed. Next one is like what they know. JDBC is a location here I've taken. Inside this location I want to say name numbering I want to provide again here. Now it will be like what there app, say for example this is like what there app 01. Guys, understand my point here. What is this application number here? No, app 01. That's okay, fine. Now this is Java file app 01.java. Of course, here we can specify that app 01.java. Save it. Right, sir. Now here my file name is what there app 01. Main method class name also I want to take up to now is what there no app 01, or else might be then I can do one thing here. Okay, 1 minute wait. Right, don't worry. Here inside this D drive and ADV Java 7 AM JDBC. Here I want to take like what there new folder app 01. Inside this folder I want to keep this. Now let me delete this anyway. Right, sir. Now here I want to take a test. Let me go for like what their file save as JDBC. Inside this app1 I want to save with what there tester.java. Have you understood it what I have done here now? Tester.java only I saved my file, but I kept that file in under what there no app 01 folder. That is my application there anyway. All right, sir. Now observe carefully. Step by step, I'm telling to you. Please try to recognize all the steps here, whatever the steps here I'm giving now. First of all, if you want to prepare JDBC applications, what we have to provide, there know some import statements are required. Am I right or not? Right, sir. Import statements. Import statements we have to write. In my JDBC program, I'm going to use something else like what there statement or maybe connection or something else. All these are provided by JDBC in the form of java.sql package or not. All JDBC programming related libraries available in which package there no java.sql package. Directly I'm going to import java.sql.star. Simple. Anyway, then we are writing import statement. That's why I want to use star. But if IDE is providing import statements, no individual classes is able to import. Just as a matter of clicking control space. If you click on control space, automatically import statements will come. That's okay, fine. All right, sir. This is okay, fine. Now here, what we have to provide there, no throws exception. This is for the sake of program safety purpose. All methods of JDBC are throwing either SQL exception or class not found exception. Once these methods are throwing these exceptions now, if we are using them, definitely our method has to handle that exceptions. To handle that exceptions here, we have to use either try catch finally or we have to use what there no throws keyword. But for simplicity purpose, in the first application, very much simple. Simplicity point of view, I've taken what there no throws exception. Right, sir. Next one. What next one? You know, load and register driver. Step number one, what then? Load and register driver. Now tell me, what intersection I have to use? What intersection I have to use? Now tell me, class dot for name of. There we have to provide what there? Driver class name. Tell me guys, what is the driver class name there? Sun dot jdbc dot odbc dot jdbc odbc driver. Don't have any spelling mistakes with this. One letter mistake if we have there we are able to get an error, an exception like what there class not found exception. So package names must be provided in lowercase letter. Class name must be started with uppercase letter, and every subsequent symbol must be provided in what they know uppercase letter. Must remember this. But in general, what is the problem I identified there with the students now? Whenever they're writing package name sun.jdbc.odbc, that package name, when they're preparing first program, they're having some what I'm telling there, some kind of enthusiasm internally. It's like normal enthusiasm. It's a over enthusiasm. Then to give strongness in their program, what they are doing there, in place of small they used to keep capital S. In place of the small J, they used to give capital J. Here, O also big, capital O they are going to provide. Overthinking. But basic point is what it is a package name. Package name must be provided in what they know, lowercase letters only. But people are not following that principle. That's why core Java is important. Because of these reasons, only core Java is required mandatorily. All these conventions we have to follow in core Java. If you're strong in core Java, 90% of the errors we can rectify. If you're not strong in core Java, almost 90% of the errors are still remaining in our application. That's a problem here. So core Java in the sense that importance will come there. That's okay, guys. Now, with this, what we have done there now, load and register the driver part is completed. Next one, after that, second one is what they know, establish a connection between Java application and a database. Establish connection between Java application and database. Then here, what we have to do there, connection con is equal to, then what we have to provide, driver manager dot get connection of three parameters here we have to pass. What three parameters here we have to provide there, driver URL, database username, database password. What is the driver URL, guys? Now tell me, JDBC colon ODBC colon DSN name. But before going to use this DSN name, first you have to cross check whether this DSN name is created or not. How, sir? How we are able to cross check whether this DSNM is created or not? Now tell me what we have to do there. Then we have to go for like what there? Control panel. I think if you're missing that point, again I'm showing that. Next one is what there? No, system and security. Inside this system and security, what next one? You know, administrative tools. Bottom one is what there? Administrative tools. Inside this administrative tools, then what we have to open there? No, ODBC data sources. What operating system can know? 64-bit. Why? Because your operating system is 64-bit, not 32-bit. So directly we can open it. Double click on it. Double click on it. If you double click on it now, go for what they know, user DSN. Go for what their user DSN. Already created with my name or not? Previously in the practice I given that. Okay, now if you want to create your own name, then what we have to do there? Click on add button. If we click on add button here, we have to select what there? Oracle in or a DB21 home one. I got my point on it. Select it. If we select this and click on finish button, here it is asking about DSN name, only first one. What is the DSN name? You know, say for example, you can provide your own name. Better to use your own name. Even don't use my name in your JDBC programs. One problem is going to be happen actually. What is the problem there? In general, in my JDBC classes, I want to give with my name is a DSN name. My database username and password is a system and Durga. In general, I used to go for it. But when students are coming to that interview, when interviewer is asking, can I tell me the steps to prepare JDBC program? What they are saying is simply class.forName method, class.forName, sun.jdbc.odbc.jdbc driver. Okay, no problem. Then immediately they are saying connection con is equal to driver mains.get connection of JDBC colon ODBC colon Nag, comma, system comma Durga. Interviewer may ask there, what is this Nag and Durga? No? You are saying clearly to that interviewer you are coming from Durgasoft as with a fake experience now. Understand it clearly. So don't use such kind of specifications to that interviewer. Just you have to say driver manage.get connection of driver URL comma database username and password. In a generic way we have to say no. If interviewer is asking specifically what is the driver URL there, depends on the type of driver which you have used. Maximum nobody will use type 1 driver in their applications. No, everybody will go for what driver they know, type 4 driver. So use the type 4 driver information. Then in place of saying that Durga, simply specify database username and password, driver URL, database username and password. That we have to say. Interviewer will not ask you, tell me exactly what is the driver URL. No. The driver URL is varied from driver to driver, database to database. I cannot remember that. I don't want to remember that. Even remembering that one is also not good. Which database I'm going to use, I don't know in my project here. So on the time, after confirming my database, I will open my database manual. Their driver information is available. I'll get the driver's information there. By the time I will think about driver, URL and all. But by default, what is the requirement to know about it? It's a matter of one-time work. It's a matter of one-time work. Understand my point clearly? Right, sir. Now by that here we are able to give such clarity. But anyway here I provided some Ravi is a name here. Click on OK button. Automatically Ravi is created or not? Ravi is created here. Now Aragilin or a DB21 home one. That's okay fine. Just I want to remove this, not required here. Already with my name, already one ODBC configuration is already available here. Just let me remove this. Yes, I want to remove this. Only my name. With my name is available. Click on OK button. That's fine. Right. Right, sir. ODBC driver is also be created clearly. Next one. Database username and password here we have to provide or not? What is the database username here? System, comma. What is the password here? Durga. Both we have to specify in the installation process that I have used there. So finally here what we completed here no connection here we completed. Then what next one here no create directly which one here no statement create a statement. How we are able to create statement guys? Now tell me statement st is equal to con dot create a statement. Statement st is equal to con dot create statement. That's okay fine. Then after that my requirement is what they know. I have to create a table. I have to create a table. Now creating table in the sense which SQL query we have to use. Is it select SQL query or non-select SQL query? Non-select SQL query only here we have to create. Am I right or not? Non-select SQL query. So now here what I am telling there and write and execute SQL query. Write and execute what SQL, what they know SQL query. Observe carefully. Now here what I am telling you, how we are going to write and execute SQL query now. Observe here, just it is a creating table only, right? Now here I am telling to you st dot which method I have which method I have to use here now? Is that execute query or execute update method? Execute query or execute update method? Execute update. What is that method here now? Execute update method here we have to use. Now inside this we have to write SQL query. Understand clearly. I'm not going to take return value intentionally from this execute update method. Later on I will give clarity why I'm not taking that. After completion of some examples, again I will come back to this in a section here. There I will discuss about it clearly. But now just understand we are going to execute our SQL query. Right, sir. What is that SQL query? There no create table. Then what we have to provide there? Table name. Just I want to use what the table name there. EMP1 is a table name. Parenthesis where ENO number of 5. I'm providing there space primary key. I think you are very much familiar with this SQL query. Yes, sir. Got my point or not? Comma. This in the basic SQL query we have to use that. Maybe in the prerequisite part I discussed about it. In the database installation I discussed it there. That is a create a table EMP1 ENO number 5 primary key comma. Then e name where char 2 of 10 comma e sal float of 5. Size also we can specify. If you are not specifying size, no default size will come there. Comma. Then what next one you know? E addr where char 2 of 10. By default I have taken 10. Okay, sir. Now overall create a table EMP1 ENO number 5 primary key e name varchar 2 of 10 e cell float of 5 eaddr varchar 2 of 10. In general in SQL prompt we are going to write semicolon at the end, but in JDBC don't provide semicolon. JDBC will append semicolon. With that semicolon it will send that SQL query to the database engine. Yes guys, all of you get my point or not? Two semicolons are not allowed in our SQL. Only one semicolon is allowed here. The JDBC program driver will keep that semicolon with our SQL query that will be sent to the database engine by default. So while writing SQL query, you should not provide any semicolon. Please remember where I'm stressing the points now. These points are in general people are doing mistakes now. That's why I'm stressing on this particular point here. Understand it clearly. So now here what I'm telling there, now here we are executing this particular one. If it is not executed successfully, here itself we are able to get an exception. If it is executed successfully, no exception will come. It will come to the next line. Then in the next line here, what I'm trying to say there, system.out.println of emp1 table created successfully. Understand my logic here? Why I'm writing directly this success case now? The point is, if it is executed successfully this intersection without having any problem, then flow of execution will come to this intersection. Means that the table is created successfully. But if any problem is available while executing this particular intersection, in this line itself exception will come. JVM will not come to this intersection. So there we are not going to execute what there EMP1 table created successfully, that won't be executed if any exception is coming there. Here itself we are able to terminate the program. Because of that reason only I directly have written like what there this particular one now. The last one is like what there no close the resources. What we have to close there no. Here I can close like what there st dot close here. That means result set I have not created here. St dot close. Then what next one here no con dot close or else simply con dot close. Either of the things here we are able to use. Either we can close all the resources or simply we can go for what there no con dot close. Finish. My total JDBC program is completed. Now let me save this here. I saved it or not? Guys, all of you have to this. I saved it now. Right, next one is I need to execute this program. How I'm going to execute this program here now? Open command prompt. Open command prompt. Now observe carefully. Go to the location where you saved your program. What is that location, guys? Now tell me D colon CD. Then what next one? You know ADV Java 7 AM. Then CD. I created what they know JDBC. Inside this, then what next one can now tell me? CD. Here we have to go for what there? 1 minute. Right, sir. Now here I have to go for ABB01 folder I created or not? ABB01. Now inside this we have tester.java. Right, sir. Now just observe carefully. Now listen carefully. If we want to compile and execute this program, which version of Java is required? 1.7. But which version is available in my system? You know, let me check it. What version is available here? 17.0.4. It is available. Am I right or not? Let's see what's going to be happen here now. With this 117 version, then what's going to be happen? Let's understand this clearly. Java C space tester.java. Compiled successfully. Why? Because the driver class we specified in the form of string. Compiler will check a for name method is having string or not. What driver class is available, the compiler will not check it. But JVM will check it. Answer my point here. Now here Java space test if I provide now here we are getting an exception. Please read out this exception here now. Java.lang. What is that one no? Class not found exception. What is that class here not found here no? Sun.jdbc.odbc.jdbc driver. Finally, this class is not available. In which version of the Java? 17 version of the Java. So which version I have to maintain now? Which version I have to maintain now? Right, sir. Now here I have to maintain like what there? 1.7 version. How to provide 1.7 version here? How to provide 1.7 version command prompt? Set what we have to do now? Path or class path? Class path is for the sake of making availability of dot class files. Class path for the sake of dot class files. Only path for making availability of Java commands. Alright, sir. Set the path is equal to what is that path, sir? Now tell me. In my system already 1.7 is installed previously. In my core Java classes already installed 1.6, 1.0, 1.8 and latest version also I installed there. So 1.7 is already installed in my system. C Java. Inside the Java here JDK 1.8.0, JDK 1.7.0 underscore 80 is available. Open it. Bin. Up to this bin here we have to take. Copy this. Let us copy this. Let me copy this. Now here paste it. And semicolon. And semicolon. Get my point or not? Now observe carefully. Java C space a hyphen. Which version is available here now? We can observe this. What is that version here we are getting there? 1.7 version. So I can compile my program comfortably now. Now observe carefully. Java C space tester.java. Java C space what there? Tester.java. Are you getting any compilation error? No compilation error we are getting. But before executing your program, please again and again class check it now. EMP1 table is available or not. If EMP1 table is available and if we run our program, there we will get an exception, SQL exception. Why? Because table is already existed. Okay, before executing our program, table must not be available. Why? Because we are trying to create a table in database. So with the same name, we should not have any other table previously. So we have to confirm it. Now commit operation also here we have to do after deleting that particular table there. All right, sir. Now here I'm going to execute this program there. Java space tester. Java space tester. Now try to execute this. What we are getting the answer here. Now check it now. EMP1 table created successfully. The table is created successfully. Now observe carefully. In the SQL prompt, we have to check it. Previously, when I provided description EMP1, object EMP1 does not exist. Am I right or not? Now here, observe carefully. Description EMP1. Now here, if we provide this EMP1 semicolon, then what we are getting there now? That employee table here we are getting or not? ENO not null number 5. ENAME varchar 2 of 10. Float of 5. EADDR varchar of 2 of 10. That values we provided here. Now table is created or not? Right. So now here, select a star from EMP1. Of course, no records are available here. Inside this EM, just we created the table. Now here, what we are getting there? No row selected. No row selected. Even after that, no need to use any commit operation here. JDBC program already sending that commit signal also. Not only creating a table, JDBC is telling to the database engine, whatever the execution we have done, make it is permanent. So internally, you have to perform commit operation. That information also I am telling there. Just not only sending SQL query for execution. After executing that SQL query successfully, you have to take the responsibility of committing the changes now. So auto commit is going on in the case of JDBC. What commit is going on there now? Auto commit. So user should not specify semicolon at the end of the SQL query. User should not provide any commit operation there explicitly. Auto commit is going on in the case of JDBC. Automatically, what changes are happening at database now, they are going to be stored permanently. That's the meaning of like what there? Auto commit. JDBC is in auto commit mode by default. Right, so now this is that very first program, how to prepare that JDBC program in Edit Plus, that we have done clearly. Right, sir. That's okay, fine. Example here I'm telling to you. First example. Right. Now anyway, what I'm telling to you again and again, I'm telling to you guys, if it is executable in our system, then see that output and okay, feel happy for it. If it is not executed in our program because of DSNM creation problem, because of like what there, that DSNM we created, the ODBC configuration is not possible in our system, don't worry too much about it. No problem, feel very happy for it. In the future, immediately we are going to use what they know, type4 driver. With the type4 driver, everybody must execute all programs. Understand my point or not? But conceptually, in some situations, I may talk about type 1 driver, I may talk about type 4 driver to show the differentiations on the concepts here. There I'm going to use this type 1 driver implementation like this. Then I may go for like what there no type 4 driver implementation also be effectively we are going to see that. But depends on the situation, I may go for either of this. Right, sir? This is a first application. Now try to practice this example today. Then tomorrow with the practice only come to the class. I'll go for next concepts here. Tomorrow we are going to see now onwards, next 2 to 3 days only applications. Next 2 to 3 days only application development. No theory. Theory is almost all completed. Then every day, little bit theory and more program. Little bit theory, more programming. Different views of applications here we are going to see there clearly. Right? That's all, guys. That's all for today. Then 1 minute. Wait. 1 minute. 1 minute. Let me share this total document to you. I think yesterday I have not shared with you, right? Just 1 minute. No, right. 1 minute. So without failure, try to practice these examples. Without failure, try to practice these examples. Just try for it. Whether you are going to understand it or not, that means whether you are going to get output or not is the second. First, to have attempt over this. And I'm requesting to all of you, how we are going to practice this one, guys? How we are going to practice this? How we are going to practice this? Just open my material or whatever the document I'm sharing there and keep the document at one side. Just copy word to word in your editor and compile and execute the program, you will get output. Am I right or not? No, don't do that. First to see that program completely. Close the tutorial and keep aside. Try in our own way. Concept you understood. Conceptually we have to try for it. Let it come. Number of errors will come. What's the problem there? Let it come. Then resolve all the errors. One by one, all the errors you have to resolve. Then at the end of the story, if you are getting output, your kick will be different. Your the satisfaction level will be different. Understand it, Ken? That's why don't copy the programs. And I know some people are ready to copy entire program, copy and paste and compare and execute it. But type it, sir. In your own way, type the program there. Now we are not in working environment. If you're in working environment, I do suppose like what there, I do support like copy paste operation there. But we are in learning from scratch. We have to understand. Type in with your own fingers. Don't give this assignment to your brother or child in our house. Yeah, then you have to prepare yourself now. Understand it clearly. Right, sir. Just give a minute of time. 1 minute. Right, and D drive ADV Java 7. Here it's okay. This is one thing I need to upload. Of course, here itself that program is available. I'm not going to send that original program here. Copy paste that program there, but you have to practice that example clearly, right? And one more thing, like one more diagram here I need to send. 1 minute, sir. In Advanced Java, JDBC architecture, the diagram is available. Yeah, course completion certificate will be provided at the end of the course only. Course completion certificate will be provided at the end of the course only. Yes, Durgasoft is providing that. Don't worry for it. Okay. Certificate from Durgasoft shown in LinkedIn. Yes, exactly. It will come. Guys, for everybody I'm telling there, whenever we are leaving from Hyderabad, whenever we want to terminate these courses there, Durgasoft is ready to provide certification. Durgasoft certification, not OCJP certification. No. Durgasoft conduct certificate. Okay, the student is completed this course at Durgasoft. His conduct is very good. Officially with my signature will come. Okay, then try to collect that certificate whenever we are completing your courses there. Okay, maybe it may be useful for you in the future. Right, that's fine, guys. Then tomorrow we will meet and tomorrow we'll see the remaining content, next applications. Thank you. Thanks a lot.